My name is Patricia Monroe, and I'm 70 years old. Last Tuesday morning, I woke up, got dressed, grabbed my purse and keys, and walked out to my driveway to drive to my doctor's appointment. But when I got to the driveway, my car wasn't there. I stood on my driveway, staring at the empty space where my 2019 Honda Accord had been parked the night before. For a moment, I thought maybe I was confused. Maybe I'd parked it on the street. Maybe I'd forgotten where I put it. But no, I remembered clearly. I'd parked it in the driveway last night, right where it always was. My car was gone, stolen. I immediately called the police. "My car has been stolen," I told the dispatcher. "It was in my driveway last night, and now it's gone." The police came to my house within 30 minutes. Officer Davis, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, took my statement. "When did you last see the vehicle?" Officer Davis asked. "Last night around 9 p.m., I said. "I parked it in the driveway after coming home from the grocery store. This morning at 8 a.m., it was gone." "Any signs of break-in? Glass on the ground? Anything disturbed?" Officer Davis asked, looking around the driveway. "No," I said, "nothing, it's just gone." "Do you have a spare key?" Officer Davis asked. "Yes," I said. "I keep one in my kitchen drawer in case I lose my main key." "Can you check if it's still there?" Officer Davis suggested. I went inside to check. The spare key drawer was in the kitchen. I opened it. The spare key was gone. I came back outside, my heart pounding. "The spare key is missing," I told Officer Davis. "Who has access to your house?" Officer Davis asked. "Who knows where you keep the spare key?" I thought about it. "Just family," I said. "My sister comes over sometimes, and my son Trevor, he lives with me." "Where is your son now?" Officer Davis asked. "He's at work," I said. "At least I think he is. He left early this morning." "Mrs. Monroe," Officer Davis said carefully, "is it possible your son borrowed your car without telling you?" "No," I said immediately. "Trevor has his own car, a BMW. He wouldn't need to borrow mine, and even if he did, he'd ask first." "Okay," Officer Davis said. "Let me run the vehicle information and see if we can locate it. In the meantime, try calling your son and asking if he knows anything about the car." After Officer Davis left to check on the vehicle, I called Trevor. He didn't answer. I called again. No answer. I sent him a text. "Trevor, my car is missing. Do you know anything about it? Call me immediately." No response. An hour later, Officer Davis returned to my house. His expression was strange, not the look of someone who'd found a stolen car, but the look of someone who'd discovered something complicated. "Mrs. Monroe, I have some news," Officer Davis said. "Your car wasn't stolen." "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "It's not in my driveway, it's gone." "Your car was sold," Officer Davis said. "Yesterday afternoon at a used car dealership across town. The dealership has all the paperwork. The title was signed over. The sale is legitimate." I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. That's impossible. I didn't sell my car. I would never sell my car without knowing about it. "According to the dealership records," Officer Davis said slowly, "the car was sold by Trevor Monroe, your son. He had the title, the spare key, and he signed all the necessary paperwork." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. "Trevor sold my car." "It appears so," Officer Davis said. "He sold it for $12,000. The dealership paid him in cash." But he can't do that," I said. "It's my car. My name is on the title. How could he sell it?" "Mrs. Monroe," Officer Davis said gently, "was your son's name also on the title?" I thought back to when I bought the car 3 years ago. Trevor had been with me at the dealership. He'd helped me negotiate the price. And then, oh no. "The salesman suggested putting Trevor's name on the title as well," I said slowly, the memory coming back. "He said it would be easier if something happened to me. Trevor could handle the car without going through probate. I thought it was a good idea. I didn't think." "If your son's name is on the title as a co-owner, then legally, he has the right to sell the vehicle," Officer Davis explained, "even without your permission." "But it's my car," I said, my voice rising. I paid for it. I'm the only one who drives it. He had no right. I understand, Officer Davis said sympathetically. But legally, if his name is on the title, he has the right. This is a civil matter between you and your son, not a criminal matter. I'm sorry, but there's nothing the police can do. After Officer Davis left, I stood alone in my driveway, staring at the empty space where my car should have been. My son, my own son, had stolen my car and sold it behind my back, taken $12,000 that should have been mine, and there was nothing I could do about it legally because I'd been stupid enough to put his name on the title. I went back inside and called Trevor again. This time, he answered. "Mom, I'm at work. What's up?" Trevor said casually, like nothing was wrong. "Where's my car?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger. There was a pause. "Oh, yeah, about that." "You sold my car," I said. "Behind my back, you sold my car and took the money." "Look, Mom, I can explain," Trevor started. "Explain," I interrupted. "Explain how you stole my car, forged my signature." "I didn't forge anything," Trevor said defensively. "My name was on the title. I had every legal right to sell that car." "It was my car," I shouted. "I paid for it, you had no right." "I needed the money, okay?" Trevor said, his voice getting loud too. "I have expenses, I have debt. That car was just sitting in the driveway. You barely drive it anyway." "I barely drive it," I repeated, incredulous. "I drive it every day. I drove it last night. And now I have no car because you stole it and sold it." "I didn't steal it," Trevor insisted. "It was legally mine to sell. And Mom, I really needed that money. I'm in a bad situation financially. I was going to tell you, but I knew you'd say no." "Of course I would have said no," I yelled. "It's my car, and Trevor, what about me? How am I supposed to get around? How am I supposed to get to my doctor's appointments, to the grocery store, to anywhere?" "You can use Uber," Trevor said, "or I can drive you places when I'm not busy." "When you're not busy," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Trevor, you're rarely home. You're always out with your friends or your girlfriend. When exactly are you going to have time to drive me around?" "I'll make time," Trevor said, but he didn't sound convincing. "Give me the money," I said. "You got $12,000 for that car. Give me the money and I'll buy another car." "I can't," Trevor said. "I already spent it." "You already spent it," I said, my voice rising again. "It's been less than 24 hours. What could you possibly have spent $12,000 on already?" "I had debts," Trevor said vaguely. "Credit cards, some money I owed people, I needed to pay them off." "So you paid off your debts with my money," I said. "Money from selling my car without my permission." "Technically, it was my car too," Trevor started. I hung up on him. I stood in my kitchen, shaking with rage and disbelief. My son, the son I'd raised, the son I'd sacrificed for, the son I'd let live in my house rent-free for the past 5 years, had stolen my car and sold it to pay off his own debts. And he didn't even feel bad about it. He thought he had the right, because his name was on the title. That's when I made a decision. If Trevor thought he could betray me like this and get away with it, he was wrong. He'd sold my car behind my back, so I was going to sell his future. And he had no idea what was coming. Before we continue this story, if you're shocked by what Trevor did and want to see how Patricia gets her revenge, smash that subscribe button right now. Hit like if you think Trevor is about to learn a huge lesson. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. And comment below telling me where you're watching from: United States, Canada, United Kingdom. Let me know. Now let's get back to the story. To understand how I ended up in this situation, you need to know the history between Trevor and me. You need to know how I ended up with a 32-year-old son living in my house, rent-free, taking advantage of me. 5 years ago, Trevor was 27 and living in an apartment across town with his girlfriend Marissa. He was working as a sales representative for a tech company, making decent money. One day, Trevor called me upset. "Mom, Marissa and I broke up," Trevor said. "I need to move out of our apartment. Can I stay with you for a few weeks while I find a new place?" "Of course," I said immediately, because that's what mothers do. When their children need help, they help. Trevor moved into my spare bedroom with the understanding it was temporary. Just a few weeks, he'd said. Maybe a month, just until I find my own place. A month passed, then 2 months, then 3. Trevor, have you been looking for apartments? I asked after 3 months. Yeah, Mom, I've been looking, Trevor said. But rent is expensive. I'm trying to save up for a deposit. Are you saving money? I asked. I'm trying, Trevor said. But I have expenses. Car payment, insurance, my phone, student loans. It's hard to save. Maybe you need to budget better, I suggested. Cut some expenses. I'm doing my best, Mom, Trevor said, sounding defensive. So I dropped it, because I didn't want to nag. I didn't want to be the kind of mother who made her son feel unwelcome. 6 months passed, a year. Trevor was still living with me. Trevor, it's been a year, I said. When are you planning to move out? Soon, Mom, Trevor said. I'm working on it, but right now I just don't have enough saved up. Are you paying rent here? I asked. Maybe you should contribute to expenses if you're going to stay longer. Mom, I'm your son, Trevor said, looking hurt. Are you really going to charge me rent? I'm just saying, if you're living here long-term, it's only fair that you contribute, I said. I'll start looking harder for a place, Trevor promised. I don't want to be a burden. But he didn't look harder, and he didn't move out. 2 years passed, 3 years, 4 years. Every time I brought up him moving out, Trevor had an excuse. I'm between jobs right now. I'm saving up for something important. Rent has gotten so expensive, Mom. I'd be paying $1,500 a month for a decent place. Meanwhile, Trevor continued living in my house rent-free. He had his own room, his own bathroom. He ate my food. He used my electricity, my water, my internet. And he contributed nothing. Not financially, not around the house. He didn't clean. He didn't do yard work. He didn't help with groceries or bills. He just lived there, like a permanent guest who'd forgotten he was supposed to leave. 3 years ago, my old car, a 2008 Toyota Camry, finally died. The transmission gave out, and the repair would have cost more than the car was worth. I needed a new car. At 60 years old, living alone, I needed reliable transportation to get to doctor's appointments, the grocery store, church, my book club, everywhere I needed to go. I'd been saving money for years. I had $15,000 in savings, specifically for emergencies like this. I went to a Honda dealership and found a 2019 Honda Accord with low mileage. It was a certified pre-owned vehicle, well-maintained, reliable. The price was $18,000. I planned to use my $15,000 savings as a down payment and finance the remaining $3,000. Trevor came with me to the dealership to help me negotiate. He was good at that kind of thing, talking to salespeople, getting them to lower the price. With Trevor's help, I negotiated the price down to $17,000. That meant I could put $15,000 down and only finance $2,000, which would be a very small monthly payment. Everything was going smoothly until we sat down to do the paperwork. The finance manager, a man named Gary, was preparing the title. Mrs. Monroe, have you thought about what happens to this vehicle if something happens to you? Gary asked. What do you mean? I asked. If you pass away, the car would have to go through probate, Gary explained. That means your heirs would have to go through a legal process to claim the vehicle. It can be expensive and time-consuming. Oh, I said, concerned. I didn't know that. A lot of people don't, Gary said. But there's an easy solution. You can add a co-owner to the title. That way, if something happens to you, the co-owner automatically becomes the sole owner. No probate necessary. I looked at Trevor, who was sitting beside me. That makes sense, Mom, Trevor said. You should put me on the title. That way, if anything happens to you, I can handle the car without having to go through legal stuff. It's very common for parents to do this, Gary added. It just makes things easier for everyone. So I agreed. I signed the title with both my name and Trevor's name as co-owners. At the time, it seemed like a smart decision, a way to make things easier for my son if something happened to me. I had no idea I was giving him the legal right to sell my car without my permission. Over the past year, I'd noticed changes in Trevor. He'd become more secretive, more defensive, more absent. He started going out late at night and not coming home until morning. When I asked where he'd been, he'd say vaguely, "Out with friends." He started receiving phone calls that he'd take in private, going into his room and closing the door, speaking in low voices. He started looking stressed, worried, like something was weighing on him. "Trevor, is everything okay?" I asked him several times. "You seem stressed." "I'm fine, Mom," Trevor would say. "Just work stuff, don't worry about it." But I did worry, because I'm his mother. That's what mothers do. A few months ago, I noticed Trevor had bought himself a new car, a BMW, a nice one. "Trevor, that's an expensive car," I said when I saw it in the driveway. "How did you afford that?" "I got a promotion at work," Trevor said proudly. "I'm making good money now. I wanted to treat myself." "That's wonderful," I said. "Does this mean you'll be moving out soon, getting your own place?" "Eventually," Trevor said, "but I'm still saving up. And Mom, it's been nice living here. We spend time together. You'd be lonely without me." "I wouldn't be lonely," I said. "I have friends, I have activities. Trevor, you're 32 years old. Don't you want your own space?" "I like it here," Trevor said. "And it's helping me save money. Why move out and waste money on rent when I can stay here and save?" What he really meant was, why move out and pay rent when I can live here for free? But I didn't push it, because part of me liked having him there, even if he wasn't the best roommate, even if he didn't contribute. At least I wasn't alone. Looking back now, I realize that was my mistake. I should have insisted he move out. I should have charged him rent. I should have set boundaries. But I didn't, and now I was paying the price. After I hung up on Trevor on the phone Tuesday morning, I spent the rest of the day figuring out what to do. I called my sister Linda, who lived across town. "Linda, you're not going to believe what Trevor did," I said, and I told her the whole story. "He sold your car," Linda said, shocked. "Patricia, that's theft." "Apparently it's not," I said bitterly. "Because his name was on the title. Legally, he had the right to sell it." "But morally, it's theft," Linda insisted. "He knew that was your car, he knew you needed it. He sold it behind your back and took the money. That's awful." "I know," I said. "Linda, I don't know what to do. I have no car, I have no way to get around. And Trevor doesn't even feel bad about it." "You need to kick him out," Linda said firmly. "Patricia, he's been taking advantage of you for 5 years. Living in your house rent-free, not contributing anything, and now he's stolen your car. You need to kick him out." "I can't just kick him out," I said. "He's my son." "He's a 32-year-old man who just stole from his own mother," Linda said. "Yes, you can kick him out, and you should." Linda was right. I knew she was right. But it's hard. It's hard to kick out your own child, even when they've betrayed you. That evening, Trevor came home from work. He walked into the house like nothing was wrong. "Hey, Mom," Trevor said casually. "What's for dinner?" I was sitting in the living room, waiting for him. "We need to talk." "Okay," Trevor said, sitting down on the couch across from me. "What's up?" "Don't act like you don't know," I said. "Trevor, you sold my car." "I told you I needed the money," Trevor said, like that explained everything. "That doesn't make it okay," I said. "That car was mine, I paid for it, I needed it. You had no right to sell it." "Legally, I did have the right," Trevor said. "My name was on the title." "Stop hiding behind the legal technicality," I said, my voice rising. "You know what you did was wrong. You took something that belonged to me and sold it without asking. That's stealing." "I'm sorry you see it that way," Trevor said, but he didn't sound sorry. "You're not sorry at all," I said. "You don't even think you did anything wrong." "Mom, I was in a bad situation," Trevor said. "I owed money to some people. I needed to pay them back quickly. The car was the easiest way to get that money." "Who did you owe money to?" I asked. "Credit card companies." Trevor hesitated. Some of it was credit cards, some of it was other people. What does that mean? I asked, a cold feeling settling in my stomach. I made some bad bets, Trevor admitted. I owe money to some guys. They were getting impatient. I needed to pay them back. Gambling, I said, horrified. You sold my car to pay off gambling debts. It's not as bad as it sounds, Trevor started. It's worse than it sounds, I interrupted. Trevor, how much do you owe these people? I paid them, Trevor said. That's why I sold the car. I used the $12,000 to pay them off, so it's handled. It's over. It's not over, I said. You stole from me, you betrayed my trust. How am I supposed to forgive that? I'll make it up to you, Trevor said. I'll drive you places, I'll help you get around. That's not good enough, I said. I need my own car, Trevor. I'm 60 years old. I can't depend on you to drive me everywhere. Then I'll help you get another car, Trevor offered. I'll co-sign a loan or something. With what money? I asked. You just spent $12,000 that should have been mine. I don't have money for another car. That was my savings, Trevor. I had that car paid off. Now I'd have to take out a loan I can't afford. I'm sorry, Trevor said, but it sounded hollow. Are you? I asked. Are you really sorry, or are you just sorry you got caught? Trevor didn't answer. I want you to move out, I said. Trevor's eyes widened. What? You heard me, I said. I want you to move out of my house. You've been living here rent-free for 5 years, taking advantage of my generosity, and now you've stolen from me. I want you out. Mom, you can't be serious, Trevor said. I'm completely serious, I said. You've betrayed me in the worst way possible. I don't trust you anymore. I don't want you living in my house. Where am I supposed to go? Trevor asked. You're 32 years old, I said. Figure it out, get an apartment, you have a good job, you can afford it. I can't afford it right now, Trevor protested. I just spent all my money paying off debts. I don't have money for a deposit and first month's rent. That sounds like your problem, I said coldly. You should have thought about that before you sold my car. Mom, please, Trevor said, and for the first time he looked genuinely worried. I made a mistake, I'm sorry, but don't kick me out. I have nowhere else to go. You have until the end of the month, I said. That's 2 weeks. Find somewhere else to live. This is my home, Trevor said, his voice getting loud. I've lived here for 5 years. You can't just kick me out. It's my house, I said. My name is on the deed, not yours, and I want you out. Trevor stared at me for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to his room, slamming the door behind him. I sat alone in the living room, shaking. I'd just kicked my son out of my house. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. But it was also necessary, because Trevor needed to learn that actions have consequences, that you can't betray people and expect them to keep helping you. He'd sold my car behind my back, so I was going to sell his future. And this was just the beginning. If you're hooked on this story and need to see Patricia's revenge unfold, smash that subscribe button. Hit like if you think Trevor deserves what's coming. Turn on NOTIFIC8EONS and drop a comment. After I told Trevor he had 2 weeks to move out, the atmosphere in my house became cold and tense. Trevor barely spoke to me. When we passed each other in the hallway, he'd look away. When we were in the same room, the silence was heavy and uncomfortable. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me wondered if I was being too harsh. He was my son, after all, my only child. But then I'd remember walking out to my empty driveway. I'd remember the police officer telling me my car had been sold. I'd remember Trevor's voice on the phone, casual and unapologetic, saying, I needed the money. And the guilt would disappear, replaced by anger. 3 days after I told Trevor to move out, something happened that changed everything. Friday morning, I was in my kitchen making coffee when my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but I answered anyway. Is this Patricia Monroe? A woman's voice asked. Yes, I said. Who's calling? My name is Denise Carter, the woman said. I'm calling from First National Bank. I'm a loan officer and I need to speak with you about a loan application. I haven't applied for any loans, I said, confused. According to our records, you co-signed a personal loan for Trevor Monroe about 6 months ago, Denise said. Is that correct? My stomach dropped. No, that's not correct. I didn't co-sign anything. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Mrs. Monroe, I'm looking at the application right now. It has your signature. You co-signed a $25,000 personal loan for your son Trevor Monroe. That's impossible, I said. I would never co-sign a $25,000 loan. I didn't even know Trevor needed a loan. Well, according to our records, you did co-sign, Denise said. And Mrs. Monroe, that's actually why I'm calling. Trevor has missed the last 2 monthly payments. The loan is now 60 days past due. As the co-signer, you're equally responsible for this debt. If Trevor doesn't make a payment soon, we'll have to report this to the credit bureaus, and it will affect your credit score as well. I felt like I couldn't breathe. How much does he owe? The current balance is $22,800, Denise said. The monthly payment is $520. He's missed 2 payments, so he currently owes $1,040 plus late fees. I can't believe this, I said. I didn't sign anything. Someone must have forged my signature. Mrs. Monroe, that's a serious accusation, Denise said carefully. The application was submitted online, but we have a copy of a signed document with your signature. If you believe your signature was forged, you'll need to file a police report and contact our fraud department. I will, I said. Thank you for calling. After I hung up, I sat down at the kitchen table, my hands shaking. Trevor had forged my signature on a loan application. He'd taken out $25,000 in my name, well, in both our names, and now he wasn't paying it back, and I was responsible for it. $22,800. That was how much he owed. Money I didn't have. Money that would ruin my credit if it didn't get paid. I waited until that evening, when Trevor came home from work. Trevor, we need to talk, I said as soon as he walked in the door. What now? Trevor said, sounding tired and annoyed. I got a call from First National Bank today, I said, about a loan. Trevor's face went pale. Oh, I repeated. That's all you have to say. Trevor, did you forge my signature on a $25,000 loan application? I didn't forge anything, Trevor said quickly. You signed it, you just don't remember. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. I never signed any loan documents. You forged my signature. Okay, fine, Trevor admitted. I needed the money. I knew you wouldn't co-sign if I asked, so I signed for you. That's fraud, I said. That's identity theft. Trevor, you committed a crime. I was going to pay it back, Trevor said. I was making the payments at first, but then things got tight financially and I fell behind. I'm working on it. You're $1,040 behind plus late fees, I said. And if you don't pay, it's going to ruin my credit. Do you understand that? I've spent my entire life maintaining good credit, and you're destroying it. I said I'm working on it, Trevor said defensively. How? I demanded. How are you working on it? You just spent $12,000 paying off gambling debts. You clearly don't have any money, so how exactly are you planning to pay back this loan? Trevor didn't answer. This is why you sold my car, isn't it? I said, the pieces clicking together. You didn't just owe money to gamblers. You owed money on this loan. You sold my car to pay off some of your debts, and you still couldn't make the loan payments. I was trying to prioritize, Trevor mumbled. Prioritize, I said. You were prioritizing which debts to pay with my money from my car that you stole. I didn't steal it, Trevor started. Yes, you did, I shouted. And you forged my signature on a loan, and you've been living in my house rent-free for 5 years. Trevor, you've been stealing from me in every way possible. How could you do this to me? I'm your mother. I know, Trevor said, and for a moment, he actually looked ashamed. I know, and I'm sorry, I messed up. I've been messing up for a while now, but Mom, I need help. I'm in over my head with debt. I don't know how to fix this. You fix it by facing the consequences of your actions, I said. You fix it by getting a second job if you need to. You fix it by cutting your expenses and paying off your debts. But Trevor, you don't fix it by stealing from your mother. What are you going to do? Trevor asked nervously. I'm going to the police, I said. I'm filing a report for identity theft and fraud. Mom, no, Trevor said, panic in his voice. If you do that, I could go to jail. I could lose my job. My whole life would be ruined. You should have thought about that before you forged my signature, I said coldly. Please, Trevor begged. I'm your son, don't do this to me. I made a mistake. I'll fix it, just give me a chance. I looked at my son, my 32-year-old son who'd stolen my car, forged my signature, accumulated massive debt, and shown no genuine remorse for any of it. You have until Sunday to figure out a plan to pay back that loan, I said. If you can't give me a concrete plan with actual steps and timeline, I'm filing a police report on Monday morning. And you're still moving out in 2 weeks. That hasn't changed. Mom, Trevor started. I'm done talking, I said. Get out of my sight. Trevor left the room, and I sat alone in my kitchen, trying to process everything. My son had stolen my car. He'd forged my signature on a $25,000 loan. He'd accumulated gambling debts. He was drowning in financial trouble, and he'd dragged me down with him. I needed to protect myself, but I also needed to know the full extent of the damage. Saturday morning, I decided to do some investigating. I needed to know exactly how bad Trevor's financial situation was. I needed to know what else he might have done. I started by checking my own credit report. I went online and pulled my free annual credit report from all 3 major credit bureaus. What I found made me sick. In addition to the $25,000 loan from First National Bank that Trevor had forged my signature on, there were 2 other items on my credit report that I didn't recognize. 1, a credit card from Capital Financial with a balance of $8,500. I'd never applied for this card. 2, a store credit card from Best Buy with a balance of $3,200. I'd never applied for this either. Both cards showed me as the primary account holder. Both were severely past due. Trevor had opened credit cards in my name, without my knowledge, without my permission. The total amount of debt Trevor had accumulated in my name was $25,000 loan, current balance $22,800, $8,500 credit card, $3,200 store card. Total $34,500. $34,500 in debt that I didn't know about. Debt that was destroying my credit. Debt that I was legally responsible for because it was in my name. I felt like I was going to be sick. I immediately called the fraud departments of all 3 accounts, the bank, Capital Financial, and Best Buy. I explained that these accounts were fraudulent, that someone had stolen my identity and opened them without my permission. Each company told me the same thing. I needed to file a police report for identity theft. Once I had a police report number, they could start the fraud investigation process. But without a police report, there was nothing they could do. Which meant if I wanted to clear my name and get out of this debt, I had to file a police report against Trevor. My own son. I waited until Trevor came home Saturday afternoon. He'd been out somewhere, probably avoiding me. Trevor, sit down, I said. We need to talk again. Mom, I'm tired, Trevor started. Sit down, I repeated, my voice leaving no room for argument. Trevor sat. I pulled my credit report today, I said, and I found some interesting things. In addition to the $25,000 loan, there are 2 credit cards in my name that I didn't open. A Capital Financial card with $8,500 balance and a Best Buy card with $3,200 balance. Do you want to explain that? Trevor closed his eyes. Mom, did you open credit cards in my name? I demanded. I needed money, Trevor said weakly. I was already maxed out on my own cards. I couldn't get approved for new ones, so I used your information. That's identity theft, I said. Trevor, you've stolen over $34,000 from me. Do you understand how serious this is? I was going to pay it back, Trevor said, but even he didn't sound like he believed it anymore. With what money? I asked. You can't even make the minimum payments, and now my credit is ruined. Do you know what my credit score was before you did this? 780. Do you know what it is now? 620. You've destroyed my credit. I'm sorry, Trevor said, and he actually started crying. I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I thought I could manage it. I thought I could pay everything back before you found out, but it got out of control. I have a gambling problem. I've been gambling online and I keep losing and I keep thinking the next bet will get me back to even, but it never does. I'm in so much debt and I don't know how to get out. For a moment, seeing my son cry, I felt sympathy. This was my child, my baby boy who I'd raised and loved and protected. But then I remembered he'd stolen from me, repeatedly. He'd forged my signature. He'd opened credit cards in my name. He'd sold my car. He'd lied to me over and over. Trevor, you need help, I said. Professional help. You need to see a therapist about your gambling addiction. You need to see a financial counselor about your debt. But I can't help you with this. I won't. What are you going to do? Trevor asked, wiping his tears. Monday morning, I'm going to the police station, I said. I'm filing a report for identity theft and fraud. I'm going to give them all the documentation, the loan, the credit cards, all of it. They'll investigate. You'll probably be arrested. Mom, please don't, Trevor begged. I'll go to jail. I'll lose everything. You've already lost everything, I said. You lost it when you decided to steal from your own mother. Trevor, you made your choices. Now you have to face the consequences. You're really going to send your own son to jail? Trevor asked, looking at me with disbelief. I'm going to protect myself from someone who's committed fraud against me, I said. The fact that it's my son makes it more painful, but it doesn't change what needs to happen. Trevor stood up. Fine, if that's how you want it. I'll be out of here tomorrow. You'll never see me again. You still have until the end of the month like we agreed, I said. I'm not kicking you out on the street immediately, but yes, you need to leave. And yes, I'm filing a police report. Trevor went to his room and slammed the door. I sat in the living room, feeling numb. Tomorrow, Trevor would leave. Monday, I'd go to the police. My son would probably be arrested. Our relationship would be destroyed forever. But what choice did I have? He'd stolen over $34,000 from me. He'd ruined my credit. He'd sold my car. He'd betrayed my trust in every possible way. I couldn't just let it go. I couldn't just forgive him and move on. Because if I did, he'd never learn. He'd never face consequences. He'd keep stealing and lying and destroying lives, mine and his own. Sunday morning, I woke up and immediately noticed something was wrong. The house was too quiet. I got up and walked to Trevor's room. I knocked on the door. No answer. I opened the door. The room was empty. Not just empty of Trevor, but empty of his belongings. His clothes were gone from the closet. His laptop was gone from the desk. His toiletries were gone from the bathroom. Trevor had left in the middle of the night. I walked through the house, looking for any sign of him. In the kitchen, I found a note on the table. Mom, I'm leaving. I can't face what's coming. I can't go to jail. I can't deal with this anymore. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be. I messed up. I messed up bad. I stole from you, I lied to you, I took advantage of you. And I'm sorry, I really am. But I can't face the consequences. I'm not strong enough, so I'm leaving. I don't know where I'm going, but I can't be here when you file that police report. I'm sorry for everything. I wish I could be the son you deserve, but I'm not, and I don't think I ever will be. Trevor. I stood in my kitchen, holding the note, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Relief that he was gone. Anger that he'd run away instead of facing consequences. Sadness that my relationship with my son had come to this. And underneath it all, a small, bitter satisfaction. Because Trevor running away meant he knew he was guilty. He knew what he'd done was wrong, and he knew he couldn't face the punishment. He'd left, he'd disappeared, but that didn't mean the consequences disappeared with him. I still had $34,500 in fraudulent debt in my name. I still had no car. I still had a destroyed credit score. And I still had a decision to make. Do I file that police report, even though Trevor is gone? Monday morning, I went to the police station as planned. I brought all my documentation, my credit reports, bank statements, loan documents, credit card statements, everything. I met with Detective Sarah Williams, a woman in her 40s who specialized in financial crimes. "Mrs. Monroe, tell me what happened," Detective Williams said. I told her everything, about Trevor living with me for 5 years, about him selling my car, about discovering the forged loan, about the credit cards opened in my name, about the $34,500 in fraudulent debt. "And where is your son now?" Detective Williams asked. "He left," I said. "He disappeared Sunday morning, left a note saying he couldn't face the consequences." "Do you know where he went?" Detective Williams asked. "No idea," I said. Detective Williams looked at all my documentation. She took notes. She asked questions. "Mrs. Monroe, this is definitely identity theft and fraud," Detective Williams said. "Your son has committed multiple crimes. However, I need to be honest with you about something. Filing this police report will start a criminal investigation. If we find Trevor, he will be arrested. He'll be charged with identity theft, fraud, forgery, and possibly other crimes. He could go to prison for years." "I understand," I said. "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?" Detective Williams asked gently. "Once I file this report and start the investigation, there's no going back. This will follow Trevor for the rest of his life. He'll have a criminal record. It will affect his ability to get jobs, housing, loans. His life will be permanently changed." I thought about it, really thought about it. Trevor was my son. I'd given birth to him. I'd raised him. I'd loved him his entire life. But he'd stolen from me, repeatedly. He'd shown no real remorse. He'd run away instead of facing consequences. And if I didn't file this report, I'd be stuck with $34,500 in debt that I couldn't pay. My credit would be ruined. My financial future would be destroyed. "Yes," I said firmly. "I want to file the report." Detective Williams nodded. "Okay, let's do this." For the next hour, I gave Detective Williams every detail I could remember. She filled out forms. She made copies of all my documents. She took my official statement. "What happens now?" I asked when we were done. "Now we investigate," Detective Williams said. "We'll contact the bank and credit card companies to verify the fraud. We'll try to locate Trevor. We'll build a case. If we find him, we'll arrest him and charge him. He'll have to face a judge and potentially go to trial." "How long will all this take?" I asked. "Could be weeks, could be months," Detective Williams said. "These cases take time. But Mrs. Monroe, you did the right thing. I know it's hard when it's family. But what your son did is serious. He needs to face consequences." I left the police station feeling emotionally drained, but also feeling like I'd done what needed to be done. Trevor had sold my car behind my back. He'd stolen my identity. He'd accumulated massive debt in my name. So I'd done what I had to do. I'd reported him to the police. I'd started the process that would lead to his arrest. I'd sold his future. Because sometimes, that's what justice looks like, even when it breaks your heart. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. After filing the police report Monday morning, I went home and tried to figure out what to do next. I had no car. I had $34,500 in fraudulent debt. My credit was ruined, and my son had disappeared. I felt overwhelmed, lost, like my whole life had been turned upside down in the span of a week. But I wasn't going to give up. I'd spent 60 years being a strong, independent woman. I'd raised Trevor alone after his father died. I'd worked hard my entire life. I wasn't going to let Trevor's actions destroy me. I needed a plan. Monday afternoon, I called each of the financial institutions where Trevor had committed fraud. Now that I had a police report number, I could start the fraud dispute process. First, I called First National Bank about the $25,000 loan. "I'd like to dispute this loan as fraudulent," I told the representative. "My son forged my signature. I have a police report." "I'm sorry to hear that, Mrs. Monroe," the representative said. "I'll need you to fill out a fraud affidavit and send us a copy of the police report. Once we receive those documents, we'll open an investigation. The investigation typically takes 60 to 90 days. "What happens during the investigation?" I asked. "We'll review all the documentation and determine whether the loan was fraudulent," the representative explained. "If we find that it was indeed fraud, we'll remove the loan from your credit report and you won't be responsible for the debt." "And if Trevor is caught, will he have to pay it back?" I asked. "That would be a matter for the courts," the representative said. "But yes, if he's convicted of fraud, he could be ordered to pay restitution." Next, I called Capital Financial about the $8,500 credit card. The process was the same: fill out fraud paperwork, submit the police report, wait for an investigation. "Will this affect my credit score in the meantime?" I asked. "Unfortunately, yes," the representative admitted. "The fraudulent accounts will remain on your credit report until the investigations are complete and we verify fraud. But once fraud is confirmed, we'll remove the accounts and your credit score should improve." Finally, I called Best Buy about the $3,200 store card. Same process, same timeline, same impact on my credit. By the time I finished all 3 calls, it was late afternoon. I felt exhausted, but I'd taken the first steps toward clearing my name and fixing the financial mess Trevor had created. But I still had one major problem. I had no car. Tuesday morning, I woke up and realized I had a doctor's appointment that afternoon. An important appointment with my cardiologist that I'd scheduled months ago. Without a car, I had no way to get there. I considered calling an Uber like Trevor had suggested, but Uber to the doctor's office and back would cost about $40. I couldn't afford to spend $40 every time I needed to go somewhere. I needed a more permanent solution. I called my sister Linda. "Linda, can you take me to my doctor's appointment today?" "Of course," Linda said. "What time?" 2 o'clock, I said. "I'll pick you up at 1:30, Linda said. When Linda arrived, she looked at me with concern. "Patricia, how are you holding up?" "I'm okay," I said, though I didn't really feel okay. "Just taking things one day at a time." On the drive to the doctor's office, Linda asked, "Have you heard from Trevor?" "No," I said. "He's disappeared. The police are looking for him, but they haven't found him yet." "Do you think he left the state?" Linda asked. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe he's probably scared. He knows what he did. He knows he could go to jail." "He should go to jail," Linda said firmly. "Patricia, what he did to you is unforgivable." "I know," I said quietly. After my doctor's appointment, Linda drove me home. As we pulled into my driveway, the same driveway where my car should have been, Linda said, "Patricia, you need a car. You can't rely on other people to drive you everywhere." "I know," I said, "but I don't have the money for a car. Trevor took all my savings when he sold mine." "What about buying a used car?" Linda suggested. "Something cheap just to get you around." "I'd still need a few $1,000s, I said. "And right now, I don't have that. Plus, my credit is ruined because of Trevor. I probably can't even get a car loan." "This is such a mess," Linda said sympathetically. "I know," I agreed. After Linda left, I sat in my empty living room and tried to figure out a solution. I needed a car, but I couldn't afford one. I needed money, but I didn't have any. That's when I remembered Trevor's room. Tuesday evening, I went into Trevor's room. He'd taken most of his belongings when he left, but he'd left some things behind, probably things he couldn't carry or didn't think were important. I started going through the room, looking for anything that might help me understand the full extent of Trevor's financial problems. In the closet, I found boxes of things Trevor had bought and never used. An expensive gaming console still in the box. A designer watch never worn. High-end headphones unopened, clothes with price tags still attached. These were things Trevor had bought with money he didn't have, probably bought with my credit cards, money he'd stolen from me. I felt anger rising again. He'd bought all these expensive things while he was supposed to be too broke to pay rent or move out. In the desk drawer, I found something even more revealing: bank statements. Trevor's personal bank statements going back 6 months. I sat down and started reading through them. What I saw shocked me. Trevor made good money, about $75,000 a year from his job. That was a decent salary, more than enough to afford an apartment, pay bills, and live comfortably. But looking at his spending, I could see where all the money went. Online gambling, $2,000 to $3,000 per month, every month, for the entire 6 months of bank statements I was looking at. Restaurants and bars, $800 to $1,200 per month. Shopping, $600 to $1,000 per month on clothes, electronics, and other unnecessary items. His BMW payment, $650 per month. Insurance, $300 per month. That was over $5,000 per month in expenses alone. And that didn't include his credit card payments, student loans, or any other debts. No wonder he was drowning financially. He was spending more than he made, and instead of cutting expenses or getting help, he'd stolen from me to cover his debts. I kept digging through the desk and found something else, a folder labeled private. Inside the folder were more shocking discoveries. One, a credit card statement for a card I didn't know about, Trevor's personal card with a $15,000 balance at 24% interest. The minimum payment was $450 per month, and it was 3 months past due. 2, a statement from an online gambling website showing Trevor's account was $8,000 in the negative. He owed them money. 3, a letter from a collection agency demanding payment of $6,500 for a debt that had been sent to collections. 4, a notice from his employer, a warning letter about excessive absences and poor performance dated 3 weeks ago. Trevor was in trouble at work too. I added up all the debts I'd found. $22,800 loan in my name. $8,500 credit card in my name. $3,200 store card in my name. $15,000 his personal credit card. $8,000 owed to gambling website. $6,500 in collections. Plus whatever else he hadn't documented. Total, at least $64,000 in debt. $64,000. No wonder Trevor had been desperate enough to steal from me. He was drowning in debt, and his gambling addiction was making it worse. I felt a complicated mix of emotions: anger at what he'd done, sadness at how bad things had gotten, and a small amount of pity for my son who'd destroyed his life. But pity didn't change what he'd done, and it didn't solve my problems. Wednesday afternoon, I received a call from Detective Williams. "Mrs. Monroe, I have an update on your case," Detective Williams said. "Did you find Trevor?" I asked immediately. "Not yet," Detective Williams said, "but we've located his car. His BMW was found abandoned in a parking lot at the airport." "The airport," I repeated. "Does that mean he left the country?" "We're checking with the airlines to see if he boarded any flights," Detective Williams said. "But Mrs. Monroe, there's something else. We ran Trevor's credit cards and bank accounts. He withdrew $5,000 in cash from an ATM on Sunday night, the night he left your house. Then he used his credit card to buy a plane ticket." "Where did he fly to?" I asked. "We're still confirming, but it looks like Las Vegas," Detective Williams said. "Las Vegas," I said, surprised. "Why would he go there?" "Mrs. Monroe, your son has a gambling problem," Detective Williams said gently. "Las Vegas is where a lot of people with gambling addictions go. It's possible he took that $5,000 and went to gamble, thinking he could win enough money to pay off his debts." I closed my eyes. Trevor hadn't run away to hide from consequences. He'd run away to gamble. Even now, facing criminal charges and having lost everything, he was still gambling. "What happens now?" I asked. "We've issued a warrant for his arrest," Detective Williams said. "If Trevor is still in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas police will find him. If he's somewhere else, he'll eventually be found. You can't run forever, especially not in today's world. We'll find him." "And when you do?" I asked. "He'll be arrested and brought back here to face charges," Detective Williams said. "Identity theft, fraud, forgery, he's looking at multiple felony charges. If convicted, he could face 5 to 15 years in prison." 15 years. My son could spend 15 years in prison. "Mrs. Monroe, are you still committed to pursuing these charges?" Detective Williams asked. "I need to know because we're about to put significant resources into finding Trevor. If you're going to change your mind later and drop the charges, I need to know now." I thought about it, really thought about it. Trevor was my son. I loved him. I didn't want him to go to prison. But he'd stolen from me. He'd forged my signature. He'd ruined my credit. He'd left me without a car. He destroyed my financial security. And even now, instead of facing consequences and trying to make things right, he was in Las Vegas gambling away money he'd withdrawn from his accounts. He hadn't learned anything. He wasn't sorry. He was just running. "I'm committed," I said firmly. "I want to pursue charges. Trevor needs to face consequences for what he's done." "Okay," Detective Williams said. "We'll keep you updated." Thursday morning, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, I found a young woman standing there. She was in her late 20s, pretty, with long, dark hair. "Are you Patricia Monroe?" the woman asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. "Who are you?" "My name is Marissa Garcia," the woman said. "I'm Trevor's ex-girlfriend. We dated for 4 years. We broke up 5 years ago." Marissa, the girlfriend Trevor had been living with before he moved in with me. "What can I do for you?" I asked. "Can I come in?" Marissa asked. "I need to talk to you about Trevor." I let her in, and we sat down in the living room. "How did you find me?" I asked. "Trevor told me where you lived when he first moved in with you," Marissa said. "I've been thinking about coming to see you for a while now, but I wasn't sure if I should. Then I heard through mutual friends that Trevor disappeared, and I realized I needed to talk to you." "What do you need to tell me?" I asked. Marissa took a deep breath. "Mrs. Monroe, Trevor didn't just break up with me 5 years ago. I kicked him out. I kicked him out because I discovered he'd stolen $10,000 from me." I felt my stomach drop. "What?" "Trevor and I had a joint savings account," Marissa explained. "We were saving to buy a house together. We'd saved $15,000. I'd contributed $10,000 and he'd contributed $5,000. $1 day, I went to check the account balance and it was empty. All $15,000 was gone. Trevor had withdrawn it without telling me." "What did he do with the money?" I asked, though I had a feeling I already knew the answer. "Gambling," Marissa said. "He'd been gambling online for months without telling me. He'd lost all his own money, then he took ours. When I confronted him, he admitted it. He promised he'd pay it back, but he never did. I gave him 2 weeks to move out." "I had no idea," I said quietly. "I know," Marissa said. "I'm sure Trevor never told you the real reason we broke up. He probably made it sound like it was mutual or my fault. But Mrs. Monroe, the truth is, Trevor has had a gambling problem for at least 6 years that I know of, maybe longer." "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because I heard you're pressing charges against him," Marissa said. "And I want you to know you're doing the right thing. I didn't press charges when Trevor stole from me. I just wanted him out of my life. But looking back, I should have. Because if I had, maybe he wouldn't have stolen from you. Maybe he would have gotten help for his gambling problem. Maybe he would have faced consequences before things got this bad." "Did you ever get your money back?" I asked. "No," Marissa said. "I never saw a penny of it, and honestly, I don't expect to. Trevor doesn't have money. He spends every dollar he gets. He's been living beyond his means for years, borrowing and stealing to maintain a lifestyle he can't afford." We talked for another 30 minutes. Marissa told me more stories about Trevor's behavior when they were together. The lies, the secretive behavior, the expensive purchases he couldn't afford, the credit cards he maxed out. "I loved Trevor," Marissa said as she was leaving. "But love isn't enough when someone refuses to help themselves. I hope he gets help. I hope he faces consequences and learns from this. But Mrs. Monroe, don't feel guilty about pressing charges. You're protecting yourself. And maybe, just maybe, you're also helping Trevor by forcing him to finally face what he's done." After Marissa left, I sat alone thinking about what she'd said. Trevor had been stealing and lying for at least 6 years. This wasn't new behavior. It was a pattern. And I was just his latest victim. Friday afternoon, Detective Williams called me again. "Mrs. Monroe, we found Trevor," Detective Williams said. "Where?" I asked. "He's in Las Vegas. He was arrested last night at a casino. He'd been there since Sunday, gambling. He'd lost all the money he withdrew from his account, all $5,000. Then he tried to use a fraudulent credit card to get more money from the casino ATM. Security caught him." "So he's in jail now?" I asked. "He's in custody in Las Vegas," Detective Williams said. "He's being extradited back here, should arrive Monday or Tuesday. Then he'll be formally charged and arraigned." "What happens at the arraignment?" I asked. "The judge will read the charges against him and ask how he pleads, guilty or not guilty," Detective Williams explained. "Then the judge will set bail or decide if Trevor should be held without bail until trial." "Will I have to testify?" I asked. "Probably," Detective Williams said. "If the case goes to trial, you'll likely be called as a witness. You'll need to testify about what Trevor did, the forged signatures, the stolen car, all of it." "Okay," I said, feeling nervous about the idea of testifying against my own son. "Mrs. Monroe, I need to ask you something," Detective Williams said. "The prosecutor is going to contact you soon. They're going to ask if you'd be willing to make a victim impact statement at Trevor's sentencing if he's convicted. Have you thought about what you want to say?" I hadn't thought about it. I'd been so focused on just getting through each day, I hadn't thought ahead to the sentencing phase. "I don't know," I admitted. "You don't have to decide now," Detective Williams said. "But think about it. This is your opportunity to tell the court how Trevor's actions affected you, how they impacted your life, your finances, your emotional well-being. It can influence the judge's sentencing decision." After we hung up, I thought about what I would say if I did make a victim impact statement. What would I say to a judge about my own son? Would I ask for mercy, or would I ask for the maximum sentence? I didn't know. Part of me still loved Trevor and didn't want to see him go to prison for 15 years. But another part of me, the part that had been betrayed and stolen from, wanted him to face the full consequences of his actions. Saturday morning, I decided to clean out Trevor's room completely. I couldn't keep looking at it, couldn't keep walking past it and being reminded of everything that had happened. I started sorting through the things he'd left behind. The expensive gaming console that he'd never even opened, the designer watch, the high-end headphones, the clothes with tags still attached. I realized these things had value, real value. Probably thousands of dollars worth of electronics and designer items that Trevor had bought with stolen money and then never used. I made a decision. I was going to sell everything. I took photos of every item. I listed them on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and Craigslist. The gaming console, the watch, the headphones, the clothes, the laptop he'd left behind. Everything. Within 2 hours, I had inquiries from buyers. By the end of the weekend, I'd sold. Gaming console, $400. Designer watch, $800. Headphones, $250. Laptop, $600. Designer clothes, $350. Other electronics and items, $300. Total, $2,700. It wasn't enough to buy a new car, but it was a start. It was $2,700 more than I'd had before. And it felt like justice. Trevor had bought these things with money he'd stolen from me. Now I was selling them to recover some of what he'd taken. He'd sold my car behind my back, so I was selling his possessions. And I wasn't done yet. Monday morning, I woke up with a realization. I'd spent the past week and a half being reactive, responding to things as they happened, trying to pick up the pieces of the mess Trevor had created. But it was time to be proactive. It was time to take control. I made a list of everything I needed to do. 1. Fix my credit. Continue working with the banks to dispute the fraudulent accounts. This would take time, but I needed to be persistent. 2. Get a car. Use the $2,700 from selling Trevor's things as a down payment on a cheap used car. Even if it wasn't great, I needed transportation. 3. Testify against Trevor. When the time came, I would testify. I would tell the truth about what he'd done, and I wouldn't hold back. 4. Recover financially. Look into whether I could sue Trevor in civil court for the money he'd stolen. Even if he went to prison, he'd eventually get out. And when he did, he should be responsible for paying back what he'd taken. 5. Move forward. I couldn't let this define the rest of my life. I was 60 years old. I hopefully had another 20 or 30 years ahead of me. I wasn't going to spend them bitter and broken. As I looked at my list, I felt something I hadn't felt in days: determination. Trevor had tried to destroy me. He'd stolen my car, my money, my credit, my sense of security. But he hadn't destroyed me. I was still standing. I was still fighting. And I was going to win. Because when my son sold my car behind my back, he thought he was solving his problems. But what he'd actually done was force me to become stronger than I'd ever been. He'd sold my car, so I'd sold his future. And now it was time to rebuild mine. Tuesday morning, I received a call from Detective Williams. "Mrs. Monroe, Trevor has been extradited back from Las Vegas. He's being held at the county jail. His arraignment is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. The prosecutor wants to meet with you beforehand to prepare." "Okay," I said, my stomach twisting with nerves. "Are you ready for this?" Detective Williams asked gently. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I don't have a choice. I need to see this through." That afternoon, I met with the prosecutor, a woman named Assistant District Attorney Rebecca Chen. She was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and professional. "Mrs. Monroe, thank you for coming in," Ada Chen said, shaking my hand. "I've reviewed your case thoroughly. Trevor is being charged with 3 counts of identity theft, 2 counts of fraud, 1 count of forgery, and 1 count of grand theft. These are serious felonies." "What kind of sentence is he looking at?" I asked. "If convicted on all counts, he could face anywhere from 5 to 20 years in prison, depending on the judge," Ada Chen said. "However, Trevor's attorney will likely try to negotiate a plea deal." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means Trevor could plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for a reduced sentence," Ada Chen explained. "For example, he might plead guilty to 2 counts of fraud in exchange for dropping the other charges. He'd probably get 3 to 5 years instead of 20. "Do I have any say in whether you accept a plea deal?" I asked. "As the victim, your input matters," Ada Chen said. "I can't promise I'll do exactly what you want, but I will absolutely take your feelings into consideration. So I need to ask, what do you want to see happen here?" I thought about it. What did I want? "I want Trevor to face real consequences," I said. "Not a slap on the wrist. Real consequences that make him understand how serious what he did was. But I don't want to completely destroy his life. He's my son. I still love him, even after everything." "That's very understandable," Ada Chen said. "Mrs. Monroe, would you be willing to make a victim impact statement if this goes to sentencing?" "Yes," I said. "I want the judge to hear how this affected me." "Good," Ada Chen said. "Now, there's something else we need to discuss. We've been investigating Trevor's finances, and we've discovered that in addition to the money he stole from you, he's defrauded several other people. We've found at least 3 other victims who lost money to Trevor." I felt sick. He stole from other people, too. "Yes," Ada Chen confirmed. "A former roommate, a former coworker, and his current girlfriend, who he was apparently dating while living in your house. He borrowed money from all of them and never paid it back. In total, between you and the other victims, Trevor has stolen or defrauded approximately $60,000. $60,000, and I was just one of multiple victims. The other victims are also willing to testify, Ada Chen continued, which strengthens our case significantly. Trevor's attorney is going to have a very hard time defending him with this many victims. Wednesday morning, I went to the courthouse for Trevor's arraignment. My sister Linda came with me for support. "Are you sure you want to be in the courtroom?" Linda asked as we walked up the courthouse steps. "You don't have to see him if you don't want to." "I need to see him," I said. "I need to look him in the eye." We entered the courtroom and sat in the gallery. It was a small courtroom, mostly empty except for a few other people, probably family members of other defendants. After about 20 minutes, a door opened and Trevor was led into the courtroom. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted, defeated. Our eyes met across the courtroom. For a moment, I saw my little boy, the child I'd rocked to sleep, the toddler I'd taught to ride a bike, the teenager I'd been so proud of when he graduated high school. But then I remembered what he'd done, and I looked away. The judge, Judge Martin, entered the courtroom. Everyone stood until the judge sat down. "Case number 2024 CR 5847, State versus Trevor Monroe," the clerk announced. Judge Martin looked at Trevor. "Mr. Monroe, you've been charged with 3 counts of identity theft in the first degree, 2 counts of fraud in the first degree, 1 count of forgery in the second degree, and 1 count of grand theft auto. Do you understand these charges?" Trevor's voice was quiet. "Yes, Your Honor." "How do you plead?" Judge Martin asked. Trevor's attorney, a public defender named Mr. Lopez, stood up. "Your Honor, we request more time before entering a plea. We'd like to review all the evidence and potentially negotiate with the prosecution." "Very well," Judge Martin said. "Plea will be entered at the next hearing, scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Now, let's address bail. The state is requesting that Mr. Monroe be held without bail due to flight risk. He was apprehended in Las Vegas after fleeing the jurisdiction." "Your Honor, my client has ties to the community," Mr. Lopez argued. "His mother lives here. He had a job here before these charges. He's not a flight risk." "Mr. Lopez, your client was literally caught trying to flee," Judge Martin said dryly. "He withdrew cash, bought a plane ticket to Las Vegas, and was arrested at a casino. That's the definition of flight risk. Bail is denied. Mr. Monroe will remain in custody until trial." Trevor's shoulders slumped. He'd been hopping to get out on bail. The bailiff led Trevor out of the courtroom. As he passed by where I was sitting, he looked at me again. This time, his expression was pleading. He mouthed the words, "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I just watched as they took him away. Over the next 2 weeks, Trevor's attorney and Ada Chen negotiated back and forth. Finally, they reached a plea deal. Ada Chen called me to explain it. Trevor has agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts of identity theft in the first degree and 1 count of fraud in the first degree. In exchange, we're dropping the other charges. The sentencing range for these charges is 3 to 8 years in prison. 3 to 8 years, I repeated. That's a big range. Yes, Ada Chen agreed. The actual sentence will be up to the judge. That's where your victim impact statement becomes important. The judge will hear from you, from the other victims, and from Trevor. Then the judge will decide on the sentence. "When is the sentencing hearing?" I asked. 3 weeks from now, Ada Chen said. "That gives you time to prepare your statement. Mrs. Monroe, I want you to be honest in your statement. Tell the judge exactly how Trevor's actions affected you. Don't hold back because he's your son. The judge needs to hear the truth." "I will," I promised. Over the next 3 weeks, I wrote and rewrote my victim impact statement. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever had to write. How do you put into words the betrayal of being stolen from by your own child? How do you explain the financial devastation, the emotional pain, the loss of trust? I went through multiple drafts. Some were too angry, some were too forgiving. I was trying to find the right balance, honest about the harm Trevor had caused, but not so vengeful that I'd regret it later. Finally, I had a statement I felt good about. I practiced reading it out loud to Linda. "That's powerful," Linda said when I finished. "Patricia, you're doing the right thing. Trevor needs to hear this." The night before the sentencing hearing, I barely slept. I kept thinking about what I was going to say, about Trevor sitting in that courtroom, listening to me tell a judge how much he'd hurt me. Part of me felt guilty, but a bigger part of me knew this was necessary. The courtroom was more crowded for the sentencing hearing than it had been for the arraignment. In addition to me and Linda, there were 3 other victims who'd come to give statements: Trevor's former roommate Jason, his former coworker Michelle, and his recent girlfriend Stephanie. I hadn't known Trevor had a girlfriend. Apparently, he'd been dating Stephanie for the past year while living in my house, and he'd stolen $8,000 from her, claiming he needed it for a family emergency. Trevor was brought into the courtroom in his orange jumpsuit. He looked even worse than he had at the arraignment, thinner, more haggard, broken. Judge Martin took the bench. "We're here for sentencing in the matter of State versus Trevor Monroe. Mr. Monroe has pleaded guilty to 2 counts of identity theft in the first degree and 1 count of fraud in the first degree. Before I impose sentence, I'm going to hear from the victims. Mrs. Patricia Monroe, please come forward." My legs felt shaky as I walked to the witness stand. I was holding my written statement, but my hands were trembling so much the paper was shaking. I sat down and looked at Judge Martin. Then I looked at Trevor. He was staring at the table in front of him, unable to meet my eyes. "You may proceed, Mrs. Monroe," Judge Martin said gently. I took a deep breath and began reading. "Your Honor, my name is Patricia Monroe. I'm 60 years old and I'm Trevor Monroe's mother. Trevor is my only child. I raised him alone after his father died when Trevor was 4 years old. I worked multiple jobs to provide for him. I sacrificed everything to give him opportunities. I loved him unconditionally." I paused, gathering my courage to continue. "5 years ago, Trevor asked if he could stay with me temporarily while he looked for a new apartment. I said yes because that's what mothers do. We help our children when they need it. Trevor never moved out. He lived in my house, rent-free, for 5 years. He didn't contribute to bills. He didn't help around the house. But I didn't push him to leave because I loved having him there. I thought we were building a closer relationship." My voice started to shake. 3 years ago, when I bought a car, Trevor convinced me to put his name on the title. He said it would make things easier if something happened to me. I trusted him. I trusted my son. On Tuesday, April 16th of this year, I woke up to discover my car had been sold. Trevor had taken my car, the car I paid for, the car I needed for doctor's appointments and groceries and my daily life, and he sold it without my permission. He took the $12,000 and used it to pay his gambling debts. I looked up at Trevor. He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. When I confronted him, he said it was his legal right because his name was on the title. He showed no remorse. He didn't apologize. He said I could take Uber or he'd drive me places when he wasn't busy. He didn't care that he'd stolen my independence. He didn't care that he'd betrayed my trust. All he cared about was getting money to feed his gambling addiction. I turned back to Judge Martin. But it got worse. I discovered Trevor had forged my signature on a $25,000 loan. He'd opened credit cards in my name, over $11,000 in fraudulent credit card debt. Altogether, Trevor stole or defrauded me out of more than $34,000. He destroyed my credit score. He left me without transportation. He ruined my financial security. My voice broke. I'm 60 years old. I'm supposed to be enjoying my retirement. Instead, I'm rebuilding my life from scratch because my own son stole everything from me. I have to dispute fraudulent accounts. I have to fix my credit. I had to sell Trevor's belongings just to scrape together enough money for a down payment on a used car. I lie awake at night worried about money for the first time in decades. I wipe tears from my eyes. But the financial damage isn't even the worst part. The worst part is the betrayal. Trevor is my son. I gave birth to him. I raised him. I loved him more than anything in the world, and he stole from me, repeatedly, without remorse. He looked me in the eye and lied to me. He forged my signature. He took advantage of my trust and my love. I looked directly at Trevor now. Trevor, I don't know if you're listening, but I need you to hear this. What you did broke my heart. You didn't just steal my money. You stole my sense of safety. You stole my ability to trust. You stole our relationship. I will never be able to look at you the same way again. Every time I see you, I'll remember that you stole from me, that you betrayed me, that when you had a choice between doing the right thing and stealing from your mother, you chose to steal. Trevor was sobbing now, his whole body shaking. Your Honor, I'm not asking you to destroy Trevor's life. He's still my son, and I still love him. But I'm asking you to give him real consequences. Trevor has a serious gambling addiction that he's never addressed. He spent years lying, stealing, and taking advantage of people who love him. If he doesn't face serious consequences now, he never will. He'll get out and do it again to someone else. I took a deep breath. I'm asking you to sentence Trevor to prison time. Not because I hate him, but because I love him. Because prison might be the only thing that forces him to face his addiction and change his life. Because if he doesn't learn now, he'll end up destroying himself completely. I finished and sat back, emotionally exhausted. Judge Martin nodded. Thank you, Mrs. Monroe. That took a lot of courage. After I finished, the other 3 victims gave their statements. Jason, Trevor's former roommate, testified that Trevor had borrowed $6,000 from him 2 years ago, promising to pay it back within 6 months. He never did. Jason had to sue Trevor in small claims court, but never recovered the money. Michelle, Trevor's former coworker, testified that Trevor had convinced her to invest $9,000 in a business opportunity that turned out to be fake. Trevor had pocketed the money and gambled it away. Stephanie, Trevor's recent girlfriend, gave the most emotional testimony. She and Trevor had been dating for a year. He'd told her he loved her and wanted to marry her. Then he'd asked to borrow $8,000 for a family emergency. His mother was supposedly sick and needed money for medical bills. I gave him the money because I loved him and I believed him, Stephanie said through tears. Then I found out there was no medical emergency. His mother wasn't sick. He'd lied about everything. He took my money and gambled it away in Las Vegas. When I confronted him, he ran. I haven't seen him since until today. After all 4 victims had testified, Judge Martin looked at Trevor. Mr. Monroe, do you have anything to say before I impose sentence? Trevor stood up, still crying. Your Honor, I know I messed up. I messed up really bad. I hurt people who loved me. I hurt my mom who gave me everything. I'm so sorry. I have a gambling problem, and instead of getting help, I lied and stole and hurt people. I'm ashamed of what I did. I want to get help. I want to change. I'm begging you to give me a chance to make things right. Judge Martin was silent for a long moment, looking at Trevor with an expression that was hard to read. Mr. Monroe, I've been a judge for 20 years, Judge Martin finally said. I've seen a lot of defendants come through this courtroom. Some of them are truly remorseful. Some of them are just sorry they got caught. I'm trying to figure out which one you are. Judge Martin looked at the papers in front of him. You stole from your own mother, the woman who raised you alone, the woman who let you live in her house rent-free for 5 years. You stole her car. You forged her signature on a $25,000 loan. You opened credit cards in her name. You destroyed her credit and her financial security. Judge Martin's voice was stern now. And she wasn't your only victim. You stole from a roommate, a coworker, and a girlfriend. You lied to all of them. You took advantage of their trust and their love. You used that money to feed a gambling addiction that you've never sought treatment for. Judge Martin looked directly at Trevor. Mr. Monroe, you're 32 years old. You're not a child. You're a grown man who made deliberate choices to hurt people. And the only reason you're sorry now is because you got caught and you're facing prison time. If you'd gotten away with it, you'd still be stealing. That's not true, Trevor started, but his attorney put a hand on his arm to quiet him. Mr. Monroe, I've read the pre-sentence report, Judge Martin continued. I know about your gambling addiction. I know you've been gambling for at least 6 years and have never sought treatment. I know you've accumulated over $60,000 in debts. I know you've destroyed relationships and betrayed trust repeatedly." Judge Martin paused. "The sentencing range for your crimes is 3 to 8 years in prison. The prosecutor has recommended 5 years. Your attorney has asked for the minimum of 3 years. Your mother has asked that you receive real consequences." Another pause. "Mr. Monroe, I'm sentencing you to 6 years in the state prison, with credit for time served. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution to all 4 victims, a total of $57,000. When you're released from prison, you'll be on probation for 3 years, during which time you'll be required to attend mandatory gambling addiction treatment and submit to random drug testing." Trevor's knees buckled. 6 years. He'd be 38 years old when he got out. "Furthermore," Judge Martin continued, "I'm ordering that while you're in prison, you must participate in all available addiction treatment programs. If you don't complete these programs, you won't be eligible for early release or parole. Mr. Monroe, you need help, and prison is going to give you time to get that help, whether you want it or not." Judge Martin looked at me. "Mrs. Monroe, I hope this sentence gives you some measure of justice and closure. What your son did to you was unconscionable. I'm sorry you had to go through this." "Thank you, Your Honor," I said quietly. The bailiff came to take Trevor away. As he was being led out of the courtroom, Trevor turned and looked at me one more time. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said. "I'm so sorry." I didn't respond. I just watched as they took him away. 6 years. My son would spend the next 6 years in prison. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt like justice had been served. But mostly, I just felt sad. 3 months after Trevor's sentencing, I was starting to rebuild my life. The fraud investigations with the banks had been completed. All 3 fraudulent accounts, the loan and both credit cards, had been removed from my credit report. My credit score had climbed back up to 720, not as high as it had been before, but much better. I'd used the $2,700 from selling Trevor's belongings to buy a used 2015 Toyota Corolla. It wasn't fancy, but it was reliable and it was mine. I had my independence back. I'd started going to a therapist to work through the emotional trauma of everything that had happened. It was helping. Slowly, I was learning to trust again and to let go of the anger I'd been carrying. I'd also joined a support group for families of people with gambling addictions. Hearing other people's stories helped me realize I wasn't alone. So many families had been destroyed by gambling. So many parents had been stolen from by their own children. Trevor had written me several letters from prison. I'd read the first one, where he apologized again and told me he was attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings in prison. I hadn't responded. I read the second letter, where he said he understood if I never wanted to speak to him again, but he wanted me to know he was getting help and trying to change. I didn't respond to that one either. The third letter was different. It wasn't just an apology, it was honest, raw, real. "Mom, I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. I'm writing because my therapist here says I need to be completely honest with you about everything, even if you never read this. I've been lying for years, not just to you, but to everyone. I've been lying about the gambling, about my finances, about everything. I told myself I had it under control. I told myself I could quit anytime. I told myself the next bet would fix everything. But the truth is, I'm a gambling addict. I have been since I was 26 years old. That's 6 years of lying and stealing and hurting people. The truth is, when I moved in with you 5 years ago, I wasn't between apartments. I'd been evicted because I'd spent my rent money gambling. I lied to you about why Marissa and I broke up. The truth is, she kicked me out because I stole from her. The truth is, I never planned to move out of your house. I was using you. I liked having free rent so I could spend more money gambling. I took advantage of your kindness and your love. The truth is, when I sold your car, I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew it was wrong. I knew it would hurt you. But I needed money, and gambling addiction makes you selfish. It makes you hurt the people you love because your addiction is more important than anything else. Mom, I destroyed our relationship. I destroyed your trust. I destroyed your sense of safety, and I'm so sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to ever want to see me again. But I want you to know I'm trying to change. I'm going to GA meetings 3 times a week. I'm working with a therapist. I'm learning about why I gamble and how to deal with stress and emotions in healthy ways instead of betting. When I get out in 6 years, I'm going to pay you back every penny I stole from you. It's going to take a long time, but I'm going to do it. You deserve to get your money back. You deserve to get something back after everything I took from you. I know this letter doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know the truth. All of it, no more lies. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry. Trevor. I read that letter 3 times, and for the first time since this whole nightmare began. I felt something other than anger toward Trevor. I felt hope. Small, fragile hope that maybe he really was changing. That maybe hitting rock bottom and going to prison was what he needed to finally get his life together. I didn't write back. Not yet. I wasn't ready. But I kept the letter, and I didn't throw away the other letters either. 1 year after Trevor's sentencing, I received another letter from him. But this one was different. It included a visiting form. Mom, I don't expect you to come visit me. I don't expect anything from you. But I'm filling out this form just in case you ever change your mind and want to see me. I've been sober from gambling for 1 year now. 1 year of not placing a single bet. 1 year of attending GA meetings. 1 year of therapy. 1 year of facing what I did and who I was. It's been the hardest year of my life, but also the most important. I've gotten my GED in here. I never finished college. That was another lie. I'm taking accounting classes through a prison education program. I'm learning a skill that might help me get a job when I get out. I'm not the same person I was when I came in here. I'm trying to become someone you could be proud of, someone who deserves a second chance. If you ever want to visit, the form is attached. But if you don't, I understand. Love, Trevor. I looked at the visiting form for a long time. Then I called Linda. Trevor sent me a visiting form, I told her. He's asking if I want to visit him in prison. Do you? Linda asked. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to see him, to see if he really has changed, but part of me is still so angry. You don't have to decide right now, Linda said. Take your time, think about it, and whatever you decide, I'll support you. I thought about it for 2 weeks. I prayed about it. I talked to my therapist about it. Finally, I made a decision. I filled out the visiting form and mailed it back. 2 weeks later, I drove to the state prison where Trevor was being held. It was a 2-hour drive. Linda offered to come with me, but I told her I needed to do this alone. The prison was exactly what you'd expect, gray, depressing, surrounded by fences and guard towers. I went through security, where they checked my ID and searched my purse. Then I was led to a visiting room, a large room with tables and chairs bolted to the floor. I sat down at one of the tables and waited. After about 10 minutes, a door opened and Trevor walked in. I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, probably 20 or 30 pounds. His face looked older, more mature. He was wearing prison clothes and he looked different. Not just physically, but something in his eyes was different. He sat down across from me. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. Hi, Mom, Trevor said quietly. Hi, I said. I can't believe you came, Trevor said, his eyes filling with tears. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't, I admitted. Thank you for coming, Trevor said. It means everything to me. We sat in silence for another moment. I didn't know what to say. There was so much I wanted to say, but I didn't know where to start. Mom, I'm sorry, Trevor said. I know I've said it before, but I need to say it again. I'm so sorry for everything I did to you, for stealing from you, for betraying you, for taking advantage of your love. You didn't deserve any of that. No, I didn't, I agreed. I've been doing a lot of work on myself in here, Trevor continued. Therapy, GA meetings, classes. I'm learning why I became addicted to gambling. I'm learning how to manage my emotions without turning to betting. I'm learning how to be honest instead of lying about everything. That's good, I said. I'm glad you're getting help. Mom, I want you to know I'm going to pay you back, Trevor said firmly. Every penny. When I get out, I'm going to get a job and I'm going to pay you back the $34,000 I stole from you. It's going to take years, but I'm going to do it. Trevor, that's a lot of money, I said. You'll be paying it off for decades. I know, Trevor said, but it's the right thing to do. I stole from you. I need to pay it back. It's part of making amends. I looked at my son. He seemed genuine, but I'd been fooled before. How do I know you've really changed? I asked. How do I know this isn't just you saying what I want to hear? You don't, Trevor admitted. I can't prove it with words. I can only prove it with actions over time. But Mom, I promise you, I'm not the same person I was a year ago. Prison has been hell, but it's also been exactly what I needed. I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to lose everything. Because that's the only thing that made me finally face my addiction. We talked for another hour. Trevor told me about his classes, his therapy, his GA meetings. He told me about his plans for when he got out, getting a job, finding a place to live, staying sober from gambling. I told him about my life, about fixing my credit, about the support group I'd joined, about learning to rebuild my life. It wasn't a magical healing conversation. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. As our visiting time came to an end, Trevor said, Mom, I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I don't expect our relationship to just go back to normal. But I hope that over time, maybe we can rebuild something, even if it's not what we had before, even if it's something new. Maybe, I said. We'll see. That's fair, Trevor said. As I was leaving, Trevor called out, Mom. I turned back. I love you, Trevor said. I know I didn't show it. I know my actions said the opposite, but I do love you, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the son you deserve. I love you too, I said quietly. That's why I'm here. 2 years after Trevor's sentencing, I was sitting on my porch on a Sunday afternoon, drinking tea and reading a book. My life had returned to normal, well, a new normal. I had my car. My credit was fully restored. My finances were stable. I'd even started dating a nice man named Richard who I'd met at my support group. His daughter had a gambling addiction too, so he understood what I'd been through. I visited Trevor in prison every few months. Not every month, I wasn't ready for that yet. But every few months, I'd make the drive and we'd talk. Each visit, I could see changes in him. He'd completed his GED. He'd finished accounting classes and was now taking business management courses. He'd been sober from gambling for over 2 years. He'd become a leader in the prison GA program, mentoring other inmates with gambling addictions. He still had 4 more years to serve. But I could see that the Trevor who would come out of prison would be different from the Trevor who went in. And slowly, very slowly, I was learning to forgive him. Not because what he did was okay. It wasn't. It would never be okay. But because holding on to anger was poisoning me. Because forgiveness wasn't about saying what he did was fine. It was about choosing to let go of the anger so I could move forward with my life. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Richard. Dinner tonight, my treat. I smiled and texted back, Yes, see you at 6. I put my phone down and went back to my book. 2 years ago, my son had sold my car behind my back. He'd stolen from me, betrayed me, and destroyed my sense of security. I'd had to make the hardest decision of my life to press charges against my own son, to testify against him, to watch him be sentenced to prison. I'd sold his future by reporting him to the police, by making sure he faced consequences for his actions. But in doing so, I'd also given him a chance to hit rock bottom, a chance to finally face his addiction, a chance to change his life. And I'd saved myself. I'd protected my finances. I'd restored my credit. I'd rebuilt my life. Trevor would get out of prison in 4 more years. He'd be 38 years old. He'd have a chance to start over, to live honestly, to pay back the people he'd hurt, to be the man he should have been all along. Whether he took that chance was up to him. But I knew I'd done the right thing, by pressing charges, by testifying, by refusing to enable his addiction anymore. Sometimes love means letting someone face consequences. Sometimes love means saying no. Sometimes love means watching someone you care about suffer so they can learn and grow. My son sold my car behind my back, so I sold his future. But in the end, that decision saved us both. This story proves that Sparkle's enabling addiction destroys both the addict and the enabler. Sparkle's, sometimes the most loving thing is letting someone face consequences. Sparkle's stealing from family is still stealing and deserves prosecution. Sparkle's rock bottom can be the beginning of real change. Sparkle's identity theft is a serious crime, even when committed by family. Sparkle's protecting yourself from family members is not betrayal. Sparkle's prison can be an opportunity for transformation. Sparkle's forgiveness is possible, but takes time and proof of change. If this story moved you, white heavy checkmark subscribe for more powerful family justice stories. White heavy checkmark smash that like button. White heavy checkmark turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Was Patricia right to press charges? Can Trevor really change? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, South Africa, Australia, Trinidad, India, Philippines. Remember, if family commits crimes against you, report it. Don't enable addiction by covering it up. Identity theft by family is still identity theft. Protecting yourself isn't betrayal. Love sometimes means letting consequences happen. Gambling addiction destroys families. Document everything when dealing with fraud. Prison can force addicts to face reality. Real change requires hitting rock bottom. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. Family doesn't get special permission to commit crimes. Rebuilding trust takes years, not months. True remorse shows through actions, not words. Thank you for following Patricia and Trevor's journey from betrayal to potential redemption.